Let me just preface this video by saying your boy is sick right now. So if I sound a little off, listen, doing my best. Shadow is in global now. Unfortunately, no Sonic. And the first part of this crossover is actually bringing some pretty substantial units into the game. One of them, of course, being Beta. And Shadow himself is also pretty cool. If you don't know anything about Shadow, Shadow actually has a lot kind of going for him. And I feel like at the current moment, he may not fit too much into what we have. Later on, I could see this character being insanely good. The main thing that I want you guys to look at before we even look at the kid is his passive. It's able to give dark allies 5 arc gauge per second while he's above 70% HP, and it's just a constant effect. This is a bit better than what Demon Lord Vox does because he can only do demon allies. I think it's only 3 arcs per second. So this is a little less restrictive, and also you're getting a bit more with that arch gauge. Like if you look at the kid, there's a lot of stuff in here that's really solid. Take a look at this true art. Buffing up everybody's arc gauge by 30, reducing enemies' physical res by 60% stackable, and evasion rate by 30%, also stackable. Just like when it came to Summer Ilya with magic, this is a character that can do this with any physical res in the game. For an example, you could use Yuzu with this character, have 200% physical res down with Yuzu, then factor in Shadow, you have 260% physical res down with those 2 characters, and then if Shadow can get off another true art, then there you go, you're now ramping up that physical res down. And it's not like that's the only thing this art is doing, it's also applying arc gauge to everyone else, which is insanely good. Another part of the kit that's very strong is the super art, being able to give everybody the 100% defense ignore, but also giving everybody the 200% damage up if they're not afflicted by a stats element, which is pretty strong. This should stack with pretty much every single other damage up in the game, if I'm not mistaken, since this damage up I think is pretty much the first of its kind. I guess the only thing that's kind of a little bit about Shadow is the fact that I wish he had a support slot because he does have the arc gauge and stuff like that in the kit. I feel like it would help him out quite a bit, but he does have a lot of the physical and magic slots, so it's going to be really good for his damage, and he can kind of rush to get a true art. I would like him to be a bit more of a team player, but what can you do? The one who's more of a team player is absolutely Beta though. Beta's a barrier tank similar to that of like Shiro, Emiya and stuff. Being able to give everybody a barrier on her art, also healing all water allies HP by 25%. We have a true art that's buffing up everybody's damage res by 40, and you buff up everybody's art gauge by 5 per second as long as you are above 50% HP. So that means that she is a type F Archgener, and her super art gives you more magic damage based on the amount of water allies in the team. And she has kind of like a similar gimmick that Momon has, but people to the left of her get more of a damage buff, which is pretty solid. I personally prefer to the left instead of to the right because now if you join multiplayer or something and you're the last unit in the multiplayer lobby, at least somebody is getting the damage buff. There's a lot to talk about with this unit. I feel like this character is going to be insane not only just on mono water but in a lot of other situations too. The true art doesn't deal any kind of damage, sure, but the 40% DR plus the art gauge is wild. Another thing to mention here is that this 40% DR will stack with like Shiro Emiya's unlimited blade works effect, so instantly if you have her and Shiro on the same team, you're getting 70% DR, which is 2 units. The main thing that I'm kind of like struggling with here is considering if Beta will only be used on mono water or if we're going to see play with her outside of mono water. I think we definitely would see play with her outside of mono water if the HP heal was for everybody and not just water allies, because that pretty much means that you have to rely on her 5-star support to kind of heal with like smart skirt and stuff like that, and not everybody may have smart skirt, so it's a tiny bit of a negative there. Not too much, but definitely a negative. But overall though, when it comes to magic water, Jesus. But even if you're not running a full magic water team and you're mainly doing this just for her, that is a 320% magic damage buff for herself and anybody else who could benefit from it. So Beta actually looking insanely strong, and I feel like it's possible that people will look at this character and say this is the best unit from this crossover, because I'm kind of leaning on that right now. I'm a little bit mixed because I feel like the super art at the current moment in global doesn't really get too much of a benefit since there's not too many magic water damage dealers apart from like Water Valerie, and I feel like the art heal would be so much better if it was for all allies instead of just water allies. But seeing some good stuff here from Mono Water. Now we're moving on to the verdict of the banner. Should you summon or should you not? And here's what I'll tell you is that I highly recommend that you at least bare minimum do a multi-summon on this banner. This is of course a crossover banner. Who knows when this banner will be coming back in the future, so they're going to be pretty limited characters. And if you wind up walking away with either Shadow or Beta, you'll be getting some pretty solid units. Shadow of course will really benefit from being on a dark team, but you can just use him as a physical debuffer slash damage dealer. And Beta, it could be a really good mitigation tank for many different characters in the game, not to mention too an Archgener as well. Oh, and of course, you know, I can't forget, this is another big thing. Beta's actually a spirit. If you want some diversity, you know, when it comes to different races in your box, Beta is pretty much, I would say, a musket at times. Of course, there's going to be other characters coming out with this crossover. The next one will be Alpha, and then, what is it, Delta? Alpha is a spirit as well, and Delta is a beast. So we're going to be having a few more races come into the game, which is great, because that means some of us may finally be able to kill Geozagnus in the mines. I don't think this matters to skip for anybody, since these characters can really help you out no matter if you're in the beginning of the game, late game, doesn't matter. They're both just really solid, really strong characters. But hey, thank you all for hanging out. It's been your boy P. Tomorrow we might be doing a summon video on this. I'm not for sure. We may be doing just a $1 pack, seeing what we get. Thank you all again though. And last but not least, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.